Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. Am I the a-hole for humiliating my husband? Today's story comes from the Best of RedditorUpdates subreddit, posted by NoLinks3857. I was woken up this morning because the sheets where I was lying were wet. I assumed our child had an accident, but when I checked where the wetness came from, to my surprise, it turned out that my husband had wet the bed. After I'd taken a shower, I woke him up and told him he'd wet the bed. At first, he denied it, but then I guess he realized he must have, as he got this mortified look on his face, jumped right out of bed, and started trying to rip the bedding off. As we have pull-on sheets and our child was sleeping on the other side, he didn't get them off. It looked stupid, and honestly quite funny, so I chuckled. He angrily told me it wasn't funny, so I stopped. At that point, the only thing his pulling of the sheets had accomplished was to wake our child up, who was confused and asked, "What's going on?" He didn't say anything, just idiotically continued to try to get the sheets off. So, when he didn't reply, I just told her he'd wet the bed. At that, he just froze and looked at me with this weird look on his face, almost like he was about to cry or something. Our child asked why he'd wet the bed, and as he was still completely silent, I just said that sometimes accidents happen. He just stood there staring at me. If looks could kill, I'd be dead. I'm not exaggerating when I say he looked at me with pure hate. I've never been afraid of him, but for a second or two, I thought he might hit me. Then, he just dropped the things he'd managed to get off the bed onto the floor, left the room, and locked himself in the bathroom for about 45 minutes. When he came out, he got dressed in a hurry and just left, saying, "You can take it to school." He didn't even look at me. His behaviour really annoyed me, but I just let him be, as I didn't want to argue with him when he was in such a bad mood. When I got home from work, he was still sulking and basically ignored me. I was still annoyed with him from the morning, so his behaviour annoyed me even more. So I told him to get over it, that it wasn't the end of the world that he wet the bed, and to stop taking it out on me. At that, he accused me of humiliating him when I told our child. I found that utterly ridiculous on so many levels, so I angrily told him that he humiliated himself when he effing wet the bed, not me. He didn't take that too well and said, "F you," and went off to his computer. Now he refuses to talk to me. And I just feel confused. I think he's the one who behaved poorly and immature, and I haven't done anything wrong. The last thing I said may have been too harsh, but I feel like he had it coming. Yet, I feel like perhaps I was too mean to him? Am I the a-hole? Seriously? How are you confused? Oh, it's like you're a mean girl mocking him for wetting the bed. Jeez, and telling his child that? Oh my god. Edit. I just want to clarify that I did not tell our child to be mean or humiliate my husband. I told her because what else was there to say? And it was quite obvious what happened. I thought it was best to just be honest. I didn't tell her in any humiliating way, just as a matter of fact, without making a big thing about it. I didn't think my husband would feel that bad about it. It became obvious how he felt about it immediately, but you just had to continue, didn't you? Down in the comments, Flounder Solid says, "You're the a-hole. It probably wasn't the best option to tell your child he wet the bed. You could have said you spilt some water, or just distracted her with something else. But it's really not that big of a deal. That said, you could clearly tell it embarrassed your husband. Knowing that he wasn't feeling the best, you should have given him a little grace for being a little short in what he was saying, and the fact that he was not acting super bubbly. Him being embarrassed and not wanting to talk is not an attack on you. It's not about you. Anger and embarrassment are completely valid emotions, so unless he was being rude to you, you have to be okay with letting people process things and not taking it personally. But then, you told him to get over it and said you humiliated yourself by wetting the bed. Total douchebag move. For real. This could have been handled so much better. OP. He was being rude to me. He was rude when he looked at me like he was gonna hit me. He was rude when he told me, not asked, to take our child to school, even though he was supposed to. He was rude when he left me to clean up after him, but I let that be as he was upset. He could have told me that he was angry, / disappointed, / felt humiliated by me when I got home, but he didn't. Instead, he chose to say nothing and ignored me, which is rude behaviour and it pissed me off. But yes, the last thing I said was mean, and I do regret saying that, as that's not even what I think. Update. Thanks to everyone that made me see the situation from my husband's side and made me realise that I'm an a-hole, or worse. I reread my original post, and there are some things that I would like to elaborate on before I come to the update. I did feel empathy, and I did care about my husband. I was gentle when I told him after I'd woken him up. However, his reaction caught me off guard, and the time from when he got up from bed until he locked himself in the bathroom couldn't have been more than a minute. After that, I thought it was best to leave him alone. I know I was the a-hole for telling our child, but I didn't do it to be mean or humiliate him. It was just a stupid, wrongful decision. I regret it. Further, it's not easy to show someone that you care when you're being ignored. I did text him after he left and asked if he was okay, but he left it on red. I asked him again when I got home, but he didn't answer. I asked him if we could talk about it. No answer. I asked him if he could at least tell me why he was so mad at me. No answer. I gave up and went to make dinner. After dinner, I asked him if he could stop ignoring me. No answer. I asked him if he wanted me to leave, to which he replies, "You can stay, I don't care." So, I asked him again if he'll stop ignoring me if I stay, and when he said no, is when I'd had it. And while I don't think ignoring someone like that is okay, I know I handled it really badly, and I do feel awful for being outright mean to him. Anyway, I texted him early this morning to say that I was so sorry, and asked if he was willing to talk after work so that I could apologise. Around noon, he texted back saying okay. He was understandably cold to me when he got home, didn't say much. I apologised for everything, for laughing, for telling our child, for telling him to get over it, and for the part I'm most ashamed of, that I told him he humiliated himself. He was silent the whole time, and when I was done, he asked why I told our child. I explained, and after that, we just sat in silence for what felt like forever. Then, right out of nowhere, he said, "I scared you, right?" And I told him that briefly, he did. He said he could feel that. I asked what made him react so strongly, but he didn't know. He just said that he panicked when he realised he'd wet the bed, that it got even worse when I told our child, and that he got so effing angry with me for it. I apologised again for making him feel that way. He apologised for making me scared. I'm not going to go through all that we said after that. It was a long talk, but in conclusion, none of us is happy with how he acted, and we both apologised for it. He wasn't that bugged about me laughing, but we both agreed that I shouldn't have told our child. However, he's no longer mad about it, and doesn't think that it's a big deal. We both think he shouldn't have ignored me like that, and that I handled it poorly, and was mean. We've both accepted each other's apologies, but I still feel bad for being so mean to him. But all in all, we're on good terms now. Down in the comments, Oscilia says, "Wow, I just read your original post. You really are an a-hole, and seemed oblivious to it. The way you talked about it really triggered me. I've experienced people like you, even dated one, where it seems like you can't empathise with someone who might react emotionally to things differently to you. And then, when someone has the audacity to give you the mental angst of considering whether you did something hurtful, you go even harder, trying to put them in their place. Almost like it's some kind of defense mechanism to protect your ego. And the way you were talking to and about your husband also sounded abusive. OP. Yes, I really effed up in the situation and I was oblivious to it. I wouldn't normally say that I have a hard time empathizing with people, but in this case, I clearly did. I wasn't expecting him to react so strongly, and it completely caught me off guard, as I said. I've been with him for 9 years, and I usually know pretty well how he'll react and what makes him upset and what doesn't. But now I just got it all wrong, and I'm not happy about it. The fact that she's known him for years and he doesn't usually have such strong reactions should have told her something was up. It should have made her pause and consider if she'd crossed the line, one that she couldn't see. Instead, she got all pissed off and indignant at his reaction and chose to double down. I hope she learns from this, and in the future, if he has a reaction to something she's done that catches her off guard, maybe she'll pause to think, hey, my husband doesn't have a history of overreacting. Maybe I crossed the line? So, what do you guys think? Was she an a-hole for how she treated him, or was her husband the a-hole for how he reacted? Remember, I post new content every day, so subscribe for more juicy tea.